In this video, we're going to add a full-time employee to the Australian version of Xero's demo company. Now, setting up employees is a fairly detailed process, and so is setting up and managing your entire payroll on Xero. So if you'd like to learn more about it, check out the rest of the videos on this channel and also our course options, which are linked to in the description below. But for now, let's go to Xero and set up an employee. So I'm just over here in a freshly reset version of the demo company, and we'll go to payroll and employees. And from here, we just need to go over here to new employee and click on add employee. And that takes us to the first screen here in the process, which is where we need to add some personal details. And you can see here that some of the details are optional, such as the title there and the job title down here. And everything else that's not optional is required. So what I'll do is I'll just go and put some information in and then we'll take a look. Okay, so I've just put in a first name and a last name and a date of birth. I haven't chosen a gender, and you can see that's actually optional, so I haven't done that. Down here, I've just put in an address and a suburb, state and postcode. And then a little further down, you can see it's got an option there to put a mobile number in, and I'll just mouse over that information. You can see it says mobile number is required for processing superannuation payments using Auto Super. So if you use Auto Super and you need this person to process the payments, you need to put in a mobile number because they will get a text message every time they try to process the payments. And down here for email, you can see that it's required for emailing payslips, for processing superannuation, and for accessing Xero Me, which is the employee portal. So just make sure you fill those out if required. And then you've got a checkbox here for inviting the employee to Xero Me. So if you check that box, Xero will send an invite to that email address for John Smith to opt in to the Xero Me employee portal. So make sure you leave that checked if you want to. I'll just uncheck it because that's a fake email address here in my example. And then down the bottom, you've got some options here for putting in an emergency contact as well. All right, so I'll just click on save. Okay, so once you've saved it, you end up going to this screen here where you can put in all the rest of the employee details. And what you do is you go through these tabs along the top. And the first tab here, details, is actually the information that we just put in, with the only difference being that you can actually upload a photo in this screen. So if you upload photos for your staff, you can do it there. And then if you need to go through and change anything that you just put in, you can go ahead and make your change and then just click on save down the bottom. All right, so that's all filled in. So I'm going to move along to the employment tab now. Okay, so we just need to come down to the first question here, which is whether John is an employee or a contractor. If you don't know what your employee is, or your worker is, I should say, click on this link to go to the ATO's decision tool and it will help you out. But for me, I'm going to click employee because I know he's an employee. And then we move down to the income type. If you need some guidance on this, click on this link and this Xero article will open up. And down here, there's a handy table that's good to keep open as you're going through this process. So I'm going to choose salary and wages because he's just a normal salary and wage employee over there. And the employment basis is full-time. Okay, so now it's opened up a few more options for us. So we need a start date for the employment. So make sure you put in your employee's correct start date. I'm just going to say 1st of January, a couple of years ago there, just for my example. If your employee is part of an award classification, you can put that in there. You can see it's optional, so you don't need to do this if there's no award scheme. Down here, we've got the payroll calendar. So in the demo company, we've got fortnightly and weekly set up. I'll just choose weekly for this exercise. Obviously, if you have something different and you need to set it up for your business, you do that in payroll settings. Employee group, we haven't actually got any of those set up in the demo company here. You can see there it says you use tracking categories under advanced accounting, so that's in the settings as well if you need to do that. For holiday group, He's in Sydney, so I'll choose New South Wales. So he'll have the public holidays for New South Wales. And then if you check this box, it says here, holidays from this group will be automatically added to this employee's payslip as a separate earnings line. So this is just if you want to separate it out on the payslip when there's a public holiday. So that's just a personal choice or a business choice for you to make there. And then down here, we've got ordinary hours right here. And if you come over here, you can see salary and wages. He's got ordinary hours there available. And then down here, obviously, if your staff member is authorized to approve leave or authorized to approve timesheets, check those boxes there. All right, finally, we've got superannuation membership. Now, just make sure you've got these set up already in your settings. So if I click on here, in the demo company, it only has one super fund set up. So I'm just going to choose it here and just put the member number in, or the fake member number, and click on add. Okay, so if your employee has a super fund that they use that's not set up already in your payroll settings, it won't come through. So you've got to go and actually set that up first before you start setting up your employee. All right, so I'll click on save. Okay, and you can see it gave me this little message down here saying the employment details are saved. These details will be lodged with the ATO when you file your next pay run for this payee. So all of that information I just put in will be sent to the tax office when we do the next pay run that includes John. Okay, so we'll go to taxes. Okay, so the first thing here is you need to put in a tax file number. Now, because I'm just putting a pretend person in here, I can't actually put a tax file number in. If I try to put a fake tax file number like that, it actually checks to see if it's valid. So I can't even put a pretend number in, so I'll just get rid of that. So obviously put your employee's real tax file number in there. But for me, for this exercise, I'm going to have to choose one of these instead. So you can see you've got a choice there if they're a pensioner or if they're under 18. You've also got TFN not quoted. So this is when the employee has not provided a TFN and they're not going to either. But just note that if you choose that, it actually says the employee or contractor will be taxed at the highest marginal rate. So whoever your employee or your contractor is, they need to be aware that they're going to be taxed quite a lot if they don't give their TFN to you. But for me, I'll just say awaiting TFN. So you can select this if your employee is going to give you their tax file number, but they haven't yet, but you just want to kind of get on with this process and set them up. And then you can come back later on and you can put that in later on. Okay, so down here, you've got their residency status for tax purposes. And again, there's a link there to an ATO tool you can use to work out whether they're a resident or not, if there's any doubt. So go ahead and use that if you're not sure. Otherwise, just select one of these two options. Down here, you've got withholding variation. If they've got one of those, you can check the box and then put in the percentage there. So you probably won't have many employees who have got that, but if they do, they need to provide you with the information. All right, so down here, we've got tax scale. So let's just have a look at the options here. We've got regular, horticulturalist or shearers, and then we've got a couple of other options down here for actors and artists and seniors as well. I'm sure most of you will choose regular for most of your employees. If you do need to get some information on that, click on this link here to go to the Xero article. Okay, so down here, you can check this box if the person has study or training loans. And again, there's a link here to another article, so you can view the list over there. If you check that box, money might automatically be deducted to pay off their student loans. So just make sure you only check that box if they really do have loans. Then you've got the all-important tax-free threshold. And if your employee is claiming the tax-free threshold, which they would normally do if this is their only job, then make sure you check that box. If they've got more than one job, you need to make absolutely sure that they're not claiming the tax-free threshold with their other employer. Otherwise, you have to leave that blank. But for John, this is his only job, so we'll select that. Then you've got other tax offsets down here. So this is information that your employee is going to have to provide to you if they've got other tax offsets to claim. And then we've also got this one here, increase amount of tax withheld each pay period. Okay, so once again, that's something that your employee is going to have to provide to you if it applies to them. And then we've got leave loading down here as well. So you can check that box. And then you've got one down here to check if you want to apply the superannuation guarantee contribution on the leave loading. Then you can check that box there. All right, I'm going to leave that all as is for John. Now down the bottom, you've got save and file now, and you've just got save. So save and file now will send this information immediately to the tax office. And when it does, that status up here will come up and say filed instead of draft. So make sure you go ahead and do that for the new employees that you're adding. For me, obviously, I'm in the demo company. This is a pretend employee, so I can't do that. So I'll just click on save. Okay, so that's just come up and said saved instead of filed because I didn't file it. Okay, so that's taxes done. Let's go to leave. So over on leave, this is where you can assign all the different leave types that they're entitled to. And Xero does have this button here to assign default leave types. And if you click on that, it assigns annual leave and sick leave to them. So those are the default leave types in Xero, and you can't actually change that. If you want to assign other types of leave, you can just click here, and then you can go through here and you can have a look at all the different leave types that you've got set up in your payroll settings, and you can go ahead and assign them here and then do all the different settings that you need to do for that particular leave type. So for example, community service leave is a bit more common these days. You can click on that. You can already see it's an unpaid leave type. And then you've just got to go through and fill out the rest of the information there. But what I'll do, instead of running through that one, I'll just show you the default types. So annual leave over here. Okay, so it says here there's different calculation methods. So there's based on ordinary earnings. And if I mouse over there, you can see that based on ordinary earnings will accrue leave based on the number of hours that the employee works in a pay period, which will be a week for John here because we put him on the weekly pay calendar. So what that means is that if he works and gets paid 40 hours in 1 week, he will accrue leave based on 40 hours. And then if he works 38 hours the next week and you pay him for 38 hours, he will only accrue leave on the 38 hours. So the leave accruals can vary from week to week if the ordinary hours that he gets paid for varies from week to week as well. And then you've got manually recorded rate. So you can enter manually calculated rates for the accrual, and you've got no calculation required, which means there will be no leave accrued. And then finally, you've got fixed amount each period. And this means no matter how many hours they work, they will accrue the exact same amount of leave each pay period, which will be each week. So that's the one I'm going to choose here. That one there. And down here, you can see it's got 152 hours will be accrued annually, which means if you divide that by the weeks of the year, that's how much is going to be accrued each pay. So 2.9231 hours each time we do a pay run every week for John, and that will add up to 152 hours a year, which is 4 weeks worth of leave at 38 hours per week. Now, if you have employees who do 40 hours per week, which means if they're going to take a week off, they need 40 hours worth of annual leave, you should change this to be 160. And there you can see that the weekly accrual went up a bit. So they will accrue 160 hours per year, which is 4 weeks annual leave at 40 hours per week. So that's how you set this up based on how many hours you pay them for each week and how many hours they're supposed to take off or get paid for when they go on leave. So I'm going to put this back because the way I'm setting up John is going to be based on 38 hours per week. Okay. So down here we have opening balance. So if you're bringing this person in from another payroll system during the year and they've already got some hours accrued for annual leave, you can enter it in there. And then down here, you've got a very important box on termination, unused balance is, and then it's paid out or not paid out. So for annual leave in Australia, we would normally pay that out. So you've just got to make sure you pick paid out there. All right, we'll click on save. Okay, and then we'll go to personal leave. And it's a similar story over here. So I'm going to change that to fixed amount. 76 hours is 2 weeks of personal leave based on 38 hours per week. So it's the same kind of calculation as for annual leave. It's just half as much is going to be accrued because they only get 2 weeks sick leave a year. And it's already done the calculation for us down here per pay period. And then down here, it's not paid out. So if the employee is terminated, the leave balance won't be paid out. So we'll just click on save. Okay, and that's that. So now we've got the default leave types. And again, if you want to assign other types of leave and come up with an accrual for those, just click on here, go and choose the type of leave, and then set up the accrual as appropriate. Okay, let's go to bank accounts. Okay, so these are the bank accounts that you're going to pay your salary and wages into for this employee. You can actually have more than one bank account. And for John, I'll set up 2. So you can see here we've got primary bank account, and then we've got this link here to add another bank account. So let's set up the primary one first. Okay, so the statement text is what's going to appear on their bank statement. So I've just put demo company because technically that's the name of the business here. So you can put your business name in there if you want that to show on your employee's bank statement, or you can put salary or whatever it is, it's up to you. That's the name of John Smith's account, and that's the BSB and account number. Now, if you add another one, you can see it's pretty much the same thing, except over here it says dollar amount. So what you're doing for bank account 2 is assigning a dollar amount for that one, and then the balance goes into the primary account. So I'll just set that up now. Okay, so once again, I've just said demo company for the text. This one is a joint account that John's got with his wife. There's the BSB and account number. And I've just said the first $500 that he gets paid should go into this account, and then the balance should go into this account here. Okay, so that's how you can set up 2 different bank accounts there. And you can actually set up 4, you can set up 2 more there. So if they've got a bunch of other bank accounts that they want to get some money sent into, you can go ahead and follow this same process a couple more times. I'll click on save. The next tab is just a history of their pay slips. So John hasn't got any pay slips yet, but when he does, they'll be here. And you can download the PDFs if you need to, and just email them to John if he's asking for a pay slip, but you can also get them out of the employee portal anyway. All right, pay template. Okay, so this is where you set up what they're going to get paid every time you do a pay run. So let's just go ahead and add some earnings. Okay, so the earnings rate is going to be ordinary hours. And we'll do an annual salary. Okay, and we said he works 38 hours a week and gets paid for 38 hours a week. And his annual salary is 100,000. Okay, so that's one. You can also add other earnings as well. If there's different kinds of earnings that he gets paid regularly, you can go ahead and add it here. So for example, he might get a bonus or a commission every single week. You can put it in there. But just bear in mind that you don't have to put everything in here. if there's something one-off that is getting paid, you can actually add it into the pay run when you're doing it. It doesn't have to be on the permanent pay template over here. All right, so let's add some super. So this one is going to be the superannuation guarantee contribution, and I'm going to put this in at the statutory rate, which goes up every year or a couple of years. And then I'm just going to leave these settings here that it gets expensed there and the liability is there. And the payment frequency is quarterly, and the next payment date for this period is there. So I'm just going to leave it all as is, but if you do need to make changes for your business, this is where you do it. I'll click on OK. And then let's also just add, we'll go up here and we'll do a pre-tax voluntary contribution, and we'll do a fixed amount, and OK, and $100. Okay, so that's basically a salary sacrifice amount, and every time we run the payroll, John is salary sacrificing $100 into his super as a pre-tax deduction. And you saw in there that there was also post-tax deduction and other options too. Okay, so let's just have a look at deductions now. All right, so we'll just pick something simple. We'll just say a union fee and a fixed amount there. And we'll just say that every time we run the payroll, we deduct $10 out of there for his union fees. Okay, so as you saw, there was a bunch of different options for all of them. And you've also got reimbursements down here. And these items are what you set up in your payroll settings. So if you need to set up other things, go into your payroll settings and do that first, and then you can bring them through to the pay templates and add them into your employee pay templates. All right, so we'll click save for John. All right, so that one's done. Let's go to opening balances. Okay, so this is just if you're moving your employee into Xero Payroll from another payroll software during the tax year. And you just need to add in whatever the opening balances are of their earnings, their paid leave and their deductions, and also the amount of withholding tax and superannuation and reimbursements. So I'm not going to do this for John. We're not actually bringing him in from another payroll software during the tax year. But if you're doing that for your employees, you need to go through the process here. All right, so I'll just show you up the top here. You've got these two boxes up here that are grayed out. So that's just for security purposes. If anyone's walking past your computer at the time, they won't be able to see the salary or the earnings to date. But if you mouse over them, you can see that they pop up like that. All right, so let's go back to employees. Okay, so we've got John here now, and I'll just show you that if you did forget to invite him to the Xero Me employee portal, you can check that box and then you can just click on this button and it will send him an email invite there. Okay, so that's how you can add a full-time employee to your payroll in Xero.